Katie and Kiki here from Brand Ambition, and today we are speaking with Christy Lee Bailey of Interiors in Order Inc. So Christy has a really great title, and we're going to let her share it with you today so that we don't butcher it. But, Christy, what is it that you'd like to be called?
So my official title is Professional Organizer and Space Planner.
And Space Planner,
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah. And do you want to tell us a little bit about that, about your position and your role and what your business is all about?
Absolutely, I'd love to. I'd like to start first by thanking you guys for having me here today.
Thank you for being
I was
here.
very excited when you opened the invitation, so
Fantastic.
thank you. I'm excited to be here and share, about offices and about the business and all that.
Yeah, for sure.
So as a background, Interiors in Order Inc. is essentially a company that couples the worlds of professional organization and design. So our main focus is when we go into spaces, how can we ultimately increase their functionality, but also make them pretty and beautiful at the same time.
Right.
We like to call it the best of both worlds. Yeah. Everyone wants things to be organized, but then we found, that people always want it to be beautiful at the same time. So we bridged the two together, and it's been working really well.
I love that.
That's something that's really important to us as well. We really try to meld like function and beauty when it comes to branding and marketing. So
Yeah,
absolutely.
Get where you're coming from.
Absolutely, you get the efficiency and you get the feel good with it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So my particular role within the company is professional organizer and space planner, like I mentioned. And essentially, I work with a team. My role is I go into spaces and I basically formulate plans, plans of action for said projects, whether they be residential, commercial, home-based offices. And from there we implement. I do quite a bit of the organizing myself.
Okay.
Although I do have a team that obviously supports me because it's a lot of work that
Yeah.
oftentimes people don't realize how much effort goes into the organizing side of things.
Yeah.
And then in terms of the overall space plan, so how do we optimize square footage? How do we optimize flow, both for guests and workers if it's an office environment? And then I have interior designers that come in and do a lot of that work for us once the plan's put in place. So it's really a team collaboration, which is awesome, much like you guys are doing here.
Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
beautiful things happen that way.
Fantastic.
Cool. Yeah.
So in terms of a home office space, and in terms of the services that you offer, so let's say there's an entrepreneur and she's really busy, but she's got this great business that's flourishing, but her workspace is not working for her. Is it something that you offer so you come in and then you kind of assess what her needs are, her branding, all of that kind of into play, and then you kind of go in and do it for her? Is that kind of how it works out?
It can.
Yeah.
It can. It depends on the clientele. Some
Yeah.
clients really like to be involved in the process,
Right.
and other clients literally just want to hand it over.
Yeah.
So our process begins with an on-site consultation where we talk with the business owner and we talk about what it is that they want to see as an end goal in their space. So we talk about the organizing, the design, the space planning, functionality, who comes to the space,
Yeah.
who do they want to come to the space in the future.
Right. I like that.
Yeah, because oftentimes people say, well, I get the odd client here and there. There's not a whole lot of activity. And I often push them to think, well, could there be?
Yeah.
Right? If this was a place that you were proud of, that you felt so at home in and so motivated in, wouldn't it be a beautiful setting to bring prospects and business partners
Yeah.
and to create a networking space
I
as
like
well?
that a lot. Thinking ahead to what do you want, not what do you currently have.
That's right. And that's really where our motivation comes in as a company. Because oftentimes people are looking at chaos or they're looking at disorganization or maybe not the ultimate design that they want, and they're so focused on what's happening in that space right now that they're oftentimes have a hard time to step out and say this is what it could be.
Right.
Yeah.
So we come in, we do an on-site consultation, we do an assessment, we forward our recommendations, and if they're good to go, essentially we put in a plan of action, and then it's straight home to implementation.
I love that.
That's the benefit of hiring out sometimes too, because sometimes you need a fresh perspective.
Yeah.
You need somebody that's not
Unbiased.
caught up in the details to give
Absolutely.
you that fresh look.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. I love this service. So we're very big advocates for branding and knowing your brand and your business identity, and we try to educate every day the importance of it. And so how important is branding in an office?
I throw back, I know how important it is, and you ladies do too, but I often throw that back at the clients to get them to really think about it. How important is your brand to you? Most people will say, it's everything. It's my face to the world.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's run with it in your office. And oftentimes people get scared Because, well, if their office is in their home, well, it would just be so different. I have pinks and I have blues and I have greens in my brand and we have beiges and grays in the house, right?
Yeah.
But that's okay. I tell them that's okay because this space is supposed to be a space that when you walk into, you switch off from home and into work mode.
Right.
You want it to be different. You know, you have to give yourself permission to jump in. And part of jumping in is committing to the process and making your space congruent with who you are as a business owner.
I love this.
Yeah.
You know, and that comes back to, again, which we say all the time at Brand Ambition, that beauty often serves a function.
It
right?
does.
And so when you're designing your space, I love that. It puts you in the head space to work, and it helps you trigger yourself from like one mind space to another.
I like
Absolutely.
the idea of the trigger. You walk in and it triggers, you know,
Yeah.
a different thought pattern, a different thought process.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. We work with women in business quite a bit as well, and oftentimes, you know, they're carrying so many roles. So they got mom, they got business owner, they got partner,
Yeah.
you know, and so oftentimes one of their issues that they'll say to us during a consultation is nobody respects this space as my workspace. Everybody comes in, dumps everything, jumps on the computer, you know. So part of creating that brand identity in the design also signals to the rest of the household, this is a serious space.
Yes,
It needs to
yeah.
be respected.
That's so important.
I think that's
did
a-
not think of that.
It's
That's
a
so
big
important.
barrier for women entrepreneurs right now who work out of their homes, and they are moms, and they are, you know, they have all of these hats that they wear, and I think that's a big barrier. Exactly. You've had a home office before. I've had a home office before.
Yeah.
And just knowing that everybody else in the family is also aware that it's a different space. This is the workspace. You know, their thought pattern also changes.
Right, right, exactly. And when the business owners start respecting the space, there's often a trickle effect, right?
Yes.
That everybody else has to too, because this is a new standard. This is how we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it tends to be what I call the contagiousness of organizing and designing,
Yeah.
and that trickle down effect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I love that. In fact, after I remodeled my own office at home and I got serious about style the space, it was shortly after that I got so busy I had to leave.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but
It
that's
really did like trigger a lot of changes now that I look back on
Absolutely.
it. So that's amazing.
absolutely, absolutely, you know.
In terms of branding in the office space, do you see that there's been a change, a shift of more focus on the brand versus before, or do you think branding has always been important consistently, or do you feel like it's something that's grown in the mainstream to understanding of a brand in terms of small businesses?
In terms of incorporating the brand into the design
Yeah.
of the space plan, I think it's a fairly new trend.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, when you go to, you know, bigger stores,
Yeah.
you're going to see it because they want, you know, they can focus and they have mega dollars to focus on a consistent client experience, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously you saw it in those spaces. But when you look at those businesses, those are big multi-million-dollar businesses, and they're doing that and it's working.
Yeah.
So why are you any different?
Right.
Even if you, right now
Yeah.
your bottom line isn't $1 million plus,
Yeah.
you're not. Let's
Yeah.
get you. Let's picture that and make it happen.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're really big advocates for clients having a good workspace because we're always pushing social media.
Oh,
Take
yeah.
those selfies. Like people want to see your eyes. Take pictures of yourself in your workspace. So if your workspace is not branded, you're losing out on a huge opportunity to build that recognition with your audience
Absolutely.
and get people recognizing your color palette or
Yes.
like the elements that make your brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And furthermore to that, if you're in an industry where, you know, you provide some sort of office related work or residential related work, whether it's real estate, whether it's decorating, whether it's, you know, home inspectors, the whole gamut. People want to see a space that's conducive with the professionalism you're offering.
Yeah.
Even if you don't invite people in yet.
Right.
Even if it is just
Yeah.
through having, you
Yeah.
know, a social media space and a place to do podcasts and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It puts you on a different level in terms of I'm real, I'm here, I'm committed, and I can
Yeah.
give that to you as a business owner.
Right.
I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So for you yourself, you are a business owner.
Yes.
So you own this company. For you, when you were putting your own branding and everything in place, what was sort of the experience that you went through, and what was sort of the inspiration for creating the look that surrounds your business?
It was definitely an organic process. I knew I knew the feel I wanted. I definitely wanted something clean, modern, trendy, and something with color. I coach my clients in not being afraid to step outside their color comfort zone. So I had to be a model of that, right?
Yeah.
And so it took me a while to formulate what that actually looked like in terms of a brand. But with my design background, with my space planning background, in a neat way, they kind of work together. So basically, I wanted to have a bold, fundamental logo that was recognizable across all platforms, all media, all print. But then also very linear, minimalist font.
Yeah.
So I knew those core elements, and I put them together. I did work with a company at the time, but I had basically the drawing, the sketch of what I wanted. So it was a matter of formulating color codes and that. But
That's
yeah.
That's great. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and then I tested the market a little bit with it too, because I would say to my professional colleagues, what do you think when you look at this? Does this represent our company and our values, right?
Right.
We're high energy, we're modern, we're trendy, we're forward thinking, we're clean, we tend to go on the minimalist side of things. Did you see that in this? Because if you don't, even though this looks great, it's not working.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, that's really important that it communicates that.
yeah.
So what inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
Okay, so kind of funny story here. I've always been a little bit of a self-proclaimed entrepreneur since school.
Yep.
Like when I say school, I mean grade 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
I was that kid, and no word of a lie. I would at recess, I had a storefront sign that I would put on the front of my desk. Those old desks you used to have.
Yeah.
I tape it up, and I made all kinds of things from custom pens. I used to get the Bic clear pens in red, black, blue.
Yeah.
People would say, well, I want a hot pink one with, glitter sparkles. So I would go home and I'd get out my paint and I'd make it and bring it to them the next day and sell it.
I love that.
Always, I did that. I did
Yeah.
the custom jewelry, the GIMP. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
GIMP? Oh yeah, I did GIMP.
I had a bracelet line and I did custom stuff that's very similar.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go home. I was young, right? Grade 1, 2. I would go home. I would literally have $20, $25 I would make that day. Yeah. So it was always in me.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of the right opportunity to make it happen.
Right.
I was really fortunate. I have a great partner who's so supportive, which is awesome. And basically, after we had our 2 young children, I said, now's the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
jump in and go for it. And I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems to be when a lot of women step into owning their own business as well.
Yeah.
They tend to go from maternity leave and they have that sort of opportunity to focus on themselves at home a little bit with their kids, and then sort of
They start thinking, what
Yeah.
do I want?
Yes.
What is, okay, now that I've had this break, what is it that I want to continue doing?
That's right. That's right.
So, there's a big pattern of women kind of jumping in at that point, for sure, in their lives. Yeah.
It's also that additional motivation of just seeing your young girls, or in my case girls, but
Yeah.
children in general. You get one shot at this life. Let's do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
Do you remember a time that you were perhaps unsure about your career path?
Unsure about my career path. I haven't felt that way since launching Interiors in Order.
Yeah.
I did feel that way when I was working in psychology and social work. That's my pre-entrepreneurship background.
That's
Yeah.
so funny.
Yeah.
We all have different.
Yeah.
My background is very similar to
Oh,
that.
no way!
Yeah.
No way! What's your
Yeah.
background?
Social services.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. But it was, women's shelter and
Yes.
things like that. But
Yeah. So that's what I was working for an agency or an organization, I should say, that for a number of years in the deputy management role, but essentially our mandate was to work with individuals who were either incarcerated or coming up on release, and so reintegrating them back into society. I loved the work, but that's a really difficult position to maintain for an entire career.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's rewarding,
Yeah.
and it's great to be able to help people day in, day out, and be a support for people. But that type of work is quite challenging, especially when you're managing so many. Before I was a mom and before I was married, it was different.
Yeah.
And then I got married, and then I became a mom, and I was like, well, now it's like
It's a whole different ball.
it is. So at that time, I think I was thinking back,
Yeah.
do I want to look at something else? I had been doing organizing and space planning on the side.
Yep.
And then when I basically had my girls, I decided that I was going to basically forego.
And then that's how it,
That's how it happened.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like to know the kind of story about entrepreneurs and how they got to where they are, and kind of know a little bit more about them, and because I find it fascinating.
Yeah.
Because life is not so linear as people think.
It's not.
And that's okay. right?
That's great.
Yeah.
You know, you have to push yourself, you have to set new goals, you have to set new objectives. It's funny, sometimes I get from people, well, social work, psychology, that's so different from what you do now.
Yeah.
And I come back with it's actually not.
Right.
Because social work and psychology, when I was working in the helping role in that capacity, we're working on goals, it's just with people's personal life.
Yeah.
I'm working on goals now, but it's with people's spaces.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So having the background to understand behavioral change
Yeah.
and systems
Yeah.
and how to motivate people
Yeah.
to adopt new behaviors in new environments.
Yeah, which can be very difficult. Like, it's great to come in and organize someone's space, but will they leave it like that
That's
after
right.
you leave,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I totally
And
see that.
I think
Mhm.
people's spaces is a very emotional thing,
It is,
right?
it is.
So it's great that you have that background so you can understand that is it an emotional attachment, an emotional thing, triggers and all that.
It is, absolutely. It's all, spaces are all based on processes of behavior, right?
Right.
Like, take this room, for example. If no one's in here, this room's empty.
Yeah.
As people start to occupy the space, that's when you start to see patterns of behavior. You guys have your beautiful branding, for example. Yeah. Right? So, you know, it's the same thing you're trying to help people to improve too.
Yeah.
You know, I always say, do not tidy, do not do anything until they come over. Okay, are you sure? Yeah, I need to see it in its live state.
Yeah.
Oh, I
So,
like
you know,
that.
I need
Yeah.
to see it that way.
Yeah.
There's nothing that's going to scare me.
Yeah.
You know, I need to see it so I know what we're working with. Because we don't just go in and just do organizing per se. We're part of, all the organizers that I use in my company, we're part of an association in Canada called Professional Organizers in Canada. So we're mandated by, you know, a strict code of ethics
Wow.
and, you know, levels of
I
professionalism.
did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, there's lots of individuals in the industry that just do it and aren't registered and that kind of thing, but we take it very seriously. And the difference sort of between us and that other subgroup is that we're focused on moving forward. So we're not just going in and doing it for you and then leaving you hanging,
Right.
Yeah.
right? We're going in and we're teaching you how to do it,
Mhm.
right?
Giving you the tools.
Giving you the tools to be successful going forward,
Right.
right? So,
That's so powerful.
yeah.
It is very powerful. Yeah.
So you're kind of lucky because it looks like you have somewhat of a visual service. So
Yeah.
how important has social media been to you and your business moving forward, and has it made an impact on what you do, and
Oh.
do you get clients from there?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love social media. As you guys can probably tell, I'm a little bit of a social butterfly. So I love the social interaction piece of it.
Yeah.
But I also love the ability to provide free value to
Yeah.
your clients or
Yeah.
prospects, right? So, you know, of course we post befores and afters and we do videos and all that stuff, but oftentimes putting tips out, putting, you know, top 10 strategies, those kind of things. So people that are interested in what we do are getting value from going on that platform, and in turn they engage with us.
Which is exactly what we try to educate our clients, to be able to share and kind of grow
Yeah.
their following and teach their potential clients so that they kind of, you know,
Yeah.
get that information from them without having to hire them first, but they fall in love with them and they want to
That's right.
follow them and they want, you know, a little bit more information and they get to know them and all
That's
that.
right, that's right. I went to a really great business seminar last year, and one of the quotes I heard that stuck with me pretty hard is, be a member first and a marketer after.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Quotable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that one stuck with me, that's
Yeah.
a golden.
Yeah.
But it's true, right? People want to see you, they want to engage with you, they want to see, you know, who you are as a person before you start saying, hey, buy this for me,
Yes.
Mhm.
right?
And you know what, we pretty much in a roundabout way, that's how we run our business and that's how we try to educate others to do theirs as well. You know, building relationships
Yeah.
with someone before handing you their business card, and we're very much advocates for that.
Mhm.
But I like that kind of spin on it, kind of, I like that a lot. I'm
Yeah.
gonna write that one down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I heard it on my
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah, and it's so valuable to know when you go to a networking meeting, it shouldn't be the first thing that you talk about is you and your business. It's like, hey, I love your shoes, or I love this, and you know, oh, I noticed that you were speaking about this. Can you tell me more? And so it's getting to know people as people.
That's right, that's
Right?
right, yes,
So-
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's getting full value out of your social media as well. A lot of people toss a ton of ads up there, and
Yeah.
they don't do that prep work of building a relationship and giving value,
Mhm.
which builds trust that you're an expert in your field,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
I think people see like the idea of selfies or taking pictures of your workspace or anything like that. I think there's this background feeling of like that you're being vain or that it's not valuable information, so why are we putting it up there? But it's a whole new world. You need to like throw that thought
Yeah.
pattern out the window
Yeah.
because you're allowing people to see who you are as a person, right?
That's right.
And you're allowing people to connect with you via online platforms before they even meet you, and that's so much more valuable than look at me
That's
with
right.
an ad, right?
That's right, yeah,
It makes
absolutely.
it like easier too. Like I remember when I first started doing video on Facebook, and I just did it, and
Yep.
it went out there, and who knows who's watching. But then I went to a networking meeting like a couple weeks later, and everybody was like, "Oh, I saw your video," and we had stuff to talk about.
Yeah,
And they had
yeah.
questions, so
Yeah.
like it really set up the room
Yeah.
for me to come in and knock it down.
Yes,
You know what I mean?
yes, absolutely,
I had
absolutely.
a similar experience with a blog. So I have a blog, and so a lot of people have that connection with me that they like, oh, well, I follow your blog, da da da. And I'm really just doing it because it's fun for me. So, but it allows people to see a window into me and who I am. So, that everything, all social media and videos and blogging, it's amazing.
It is, and it shows your business side and what you do, but it's so different than your website,
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Depending, of course, on how much you update your website and how active you are in managing your website or having a company manage it for you. But social media is like instantaneous, right?
Yes.
And people are on it. They're on it. And so your exposure
Yeah,
is much greater than your website.
exactly. I tell people all the time now that websites used to be the first thing you would go to,
Yeah.
and it's now like the end.
That's
the
so
end
true.
trail
Yes.
when you want to.
Solidifies.
Yes,
Yes.
exactly. When you want to call them or email them, that's where you go
That's right.
to the end. Now it's you first go to their social media,
Yes.
whichever platform that you feel comfortable with.
Yes.
So it's very interesting. It's no longer the website first.
That's right.